Good morning, everybody. Rob here in Bakersfield on the Sportster 72, and welcome to this week's Throwback Thursday. This week's story is a sad story. A story about a wasted life. I was trying to think of how to title this one, and I was thinking I would title it "Suicide's Not the Answer." Then I also thought about titling it 1, 2, 3 Strikes You're Out, and you'll understand why when I get into the story, why I was thinking that second title. Okay, I was working Eastern Division, first watch. It was a Sunday morning, very quiet, not much going on at all. I was working beat 46, I was 46 John up in the Serra Mesa area. Strike. And I get a radio call to go meet up with his dad at the house, that his son is claiming that there's a dead body laying in the neighborhood park, and the father doesn't believe him. So I head over there, get to the house, I meet up with the dad, and sure enough, his son had gone out for a ride on his bicycle and gone over to the neighborhood park, come racing back home to tell his dad that there was a dead body laying in the park. The dad didn't believe him, thought his son was making up stories, because I guess apparently the kid has done that sort of thing in the past. And so the father didn't bother to go check it out. And the only reason he called the police is because he wanted to teach his son a lesson that he shouldn't be telling those kinds of lies. And the father was expecting me to chew out the son for wasting my time. Well, I talked to the kid, and I could tell by just the way he was talking and the look, expression on his face, and how, earnest he was about this, that he was not making this up. That he actually believes that he saw a dead body laying in the park. So I asked the father if it was okay if the son goes with me in the patrol car and we go over to the park and he shows me where this body's at. And the dad's still thinking, he's going to go over there, there's not going to be anything there, and the cop's going to get pissed off and, teach him a lesson. And he goes, sure. So we go out and hop in the car. And I'm talking to the kid, to get more information, like, when did he find it? Did he see anything else going on and everything? And, no, he had basically just been riding his bike over there to the park, and he saw his body laying there. And he went over close enough to it and yelled at the guy, but the guy didn't move. And in his mind, the guy was dead. Okay, well, I'm thinking, it could just be somebody passed out or something. You never know. So we get to the park, and I drive up into the park. We're driving back in there, and he tells me, it's over by where the canal is at. So we go driving over by the canal, and I get there close enough, and sure as enough, there's a body laying there. So I tell the kid to stay in the car while I go check it out. And I go walking over there, and there's a body, male, teenager, laying face down in the dirt. And you could tell he's dead because the insects were already feeding on him. So he's been there for a while. So I get on the radio and I call dispatch and ask him to go over to our tax line. We switch over to the private tack line so that the news don't hear, because I don't want to get swamped by the news, because they listen to our calls all the time. And I call and ask for the sergeant to come over there, verify that it's a dead body, and call out the coroner. Because we can, you know, we were allowed to declare him dead, but in order to call out the coroner, we had to get the sergeant's okay. Well, in the meantime, I'm sitting there looking around closer, waiting for the sergeant to show up so we can okay the call out for the coroner to pick up this body and try and figure out how he died. As I'm looking around, I see a gun laying over on the other side of the embankment of the canal. So now I'm thinking, oh shit, I got a homicide here. So I get back on the radio, call the sergeant, and I tell him I think we got a possible homicide because there's a gun laying on the other side of the embankment. So he gets there and he looks, I point out where the gun's at, and we see the body there. So the sergeant, he calls out homicide detective from downtown and calls out the mobile crime scene investigation unit, because sure enough, we think we got a homicide on our hands. And we're trying to, you know, by now we've had other officers show up because nothing's happening around. And they're all wondering, you know, what have we got? So they all want to come over and see what's going on. And as we're standing there, I'm talking to one of the officers and I'm pointing out the gun to him and all that stuff. And he's looking around, and down in the dirt, he sees written in the dirt, 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. I had not seen that. Why, I don't know, but I overlooked that. He points that out. So now, you know, it's really looking more like, you know, this is not a good situation. This kid got killed and somebody wrote that there. So now I still have the kid in the car who took me out there and showed me where it was at, and I'm going back and I'm talking to him, you know, and explain to him, yeah, we've got a dead body here, you were right. You know, and I thank him for all his help, get all his information and everything. But by now, his dad shows up wondering how come I haven't brought the kid back home. So the dad shows up and I explain to him, you know, well, yeah, your kid was right. There's a dead body over there. We're going to do a whole investigation. It looks like it might be a possible homicide. And I thank the kid and tell him, you know, kid did the right thing. And it was good that he insisted that his dad call, and kept insisting until he did call. Otherwise, that body would have laid out there for God knows how long. So, you know, dad takes the kid and they go home. We're all standing around and the crime scene investigation's there. They start checking stuff out, you know, set up, taking pictures, you know, from long away and all that. And they take pictures of the writing in the dirt, you know, the 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. And the homicide investigator shows up, and I tell him, you know, what we got, and give him all the information about the kid who found the body and everything. And so after they do all their preliminary photographs and everything, they go over to the other side of the embankment. Oh, this guy's got to really block me out, didn't he? Just like that, man. So one of the crime scene investigation unit guys goes over there to check out the gun. Well, it turns out it's not a real gun. It's one of those CO2 pellet pistols that looks like a real gun. So, okay, now we're wondering what's going on here. And about that time, about the same time, the coroner takes and rolls the body over to look for the entrance wounds, see how he died and everything. And underneath the body is a real gun and 1 gunshot wound to the chest. So it turns from being a homicide to a suicide. And I recognize this kid from being from the neighborhood. He's one I've had contact in the past with before for smoking dope and hanging out in the park. I've never arrested him or anything. I've just talked to him, you know, trying to tell him he's going to get in trouble if he keeps on doing that stuff. Cut him a break and let him go. Well, now I get to wondering, okay, who wrote that in the dirt? Did he write that in the dirt and then commit suicide? Fell face first down onto the gun? That's what it's looking like. But then, what's the deal with the toy fake gun over on the other side of the canal? I don't know. Well, I'm no longer needed at the crime scene and I get another call, so I have to leave. It's now in the hands of the Mobile Crime Scene Investigation Unit and the homicide detective. And yeah, it's no longer a homicide, it's now being ruled a suicide. But I don't have to do any more work on that case. But I get to spend the rest of my shift thinking about that kid. I've only had contact with him maybe a couple times in the past there at the park. And I'm thinking, maybe if I'd have spent more time talking to him, found out what was going on with him, maybe I could have got him to open up to me. I might have been able to prevent that. Might have been able to prevent him from committing suicide. I'll never know, because I didn't do that. I just told him to quit hanging out in the park with all the dope smokers and get his butt home. So, the thing about this story is, number one, you got to think of it is that suicide is not the answer. Because I'm sure that kid could have had a good life that he just threw away for whatever reason, whatever was bothering him, I don't know. Falling into depression and using drugs is not the answer. He left his family behind to mourn for him. And I don't know, maybe he wanted to punish his parents somehow or other by committing suicide. You never know on those things. It's hard to tell. I know read somewhere there's statistics, something about, I forget what percentage of teenagers it is, but there's a very high percentage of teenagers at some point in their preteen or teenage life contemplate suicide. And it's because of depression, and it usually has to either do with the parents' interaction or boyfriend-girlfriend interaction that causes it. Well, I don't know what else to say. I just wish I'd have been able to talk to him and would have been able to turn the clock back. Alright, well, if you guys get anything out of this at all, if you got teenagers and they're looking a little moody, maybe experimenting with alcohol and drugs, try to talk to them. And yeah, they're going to, push you away at first, but you got to hang in there. Remember how it was when you were a teenager and parents were your adversary. Maybe some of you out there didn't grow up that way. Most everybody I know did. So, see you later. Bye-bye.